Oh, another mini with Oscar.
And Carl.
That's right. Those are our names.
Those are our names. We like to establish things at the beginning.
Yes, we're established now. Let's get to the first act.
Yep.
We like
See,
movies.
JK, this is how it works. You establish the characters. Anyway, we'll get into
We'll get to it.
Yeah. It's Fantastic Beasts.
And where to find them. The trilogy so far. Hi there, future us. Guess what? We recorded this a while back, and now things have changed.
They have changed, and it looks like there's not going to be any more Fantastic Beasts films, but I stand by everything I will be saying in the rest of this episode. What a shame.
So cast your mind back to a couple weeks before this, and imagine where we were.
Yep, that's right.
Lucky you.
Yeah, that's right. I think with the third one's just come out. I have just seen it. Mm-hmm. We're going to run through the three.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot to unpack in terms of how wild and weird this trilogy's sort of turning out to be.
Yeah.
But let's begin with the first Fantastic Beasts, which currently has a 3.2 on Letterboxd, a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 7.3 on IMDb. Oscar, what's the plot?
The adventures of a writer, Newt Scamander, in New York's secret community of witches and wizards, 70 years before Harry Potter reads his book in school. Oh, right, yeah, because
he's collecting info for his book.
Yes, it's a textbook.
Yes, that's right.
Gotcha.
Nothing more fun than following a guy that writes textbooks, huh? Who doesn't want him as a main character?
5 films. I don't want anything else. I want to know how the textbook in that film, not even the titular textbook in like the Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah, I know, right?
Don't even want to know that.
It's one that if you've only had to have read the books to understand this textbook even exists.
And even then, the book's like, oh, they had to do shitty homework. This stupid book. Oh, who the fuck would read this?
Classic Newt Scamander.
Now, I've only seen the first. Again,
Yes.
following in line with that, this podcast effort is going downhill rapidly.
true.
But Carl, thank God, has seen all three.
It's because I'm
recently.
fucking off to Europe.
Yeah.
So.
It's your punishment.
It's true, it is. My punishment's having to cram in so many bad films before I leave.
Yeah.
Then I'm free. For a
free.
little bit of time, I'm
God.
free. Yeah, so did you see this one in cinemas?
I did see this in cinemas. Like, everyone went, oh, Harry Potter, more. Yes.
You a big fan of Harry Potter?
I think I'm from England, and I'm a child that was born about 20-ish years ago. So, yes, I have to be a Harry Potter fan. I've watched them all. I read all the books. But I'm not a fan because if you say you're a fan, then you have to like...
Yeah.
Then it's a different level. I've watched and read all the books and I like them. That's it.
Passive fan.
Passive fan. Yes.
I'm probably the leg above you.
Yep.
So I revisit the movies a lot, and I like that world. Just so you know where my opinion's coming from on these. So, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a movie I did not enjoy when it came out. Having watched it this week, though, has won me over.
Oh, that's good.
So it's one... I think it's just because in between... What year did Fantastic Beasts come out?
2016.
You wouldn't believe that in just
6 years.
6 years, films have changed much.
Yeah.
But watching Fantastic... In my head, Fantastic Beasts, I'm like, what a grey film with just bad visual effects and like very little going on. And I think it's the second movie really clouded my judgment of this one, especially.
Because they were like, well, those old Harry Potters got darker, but it was the themes that also got darker. Whereas this one was like, we've gone dark. We don't know why, but it's very dark and
It's
gloomy.
just like, it's a weird mismatch, this one. But I think it was just like, when I rewatched it, I appreciated it. I was like, oh, this is fun. But yeah, it's like, it's weird, especially because you've got, it's a weird first movie because... you're like, why is Newt the main character?
Oh, no. When Eddie Redmayne steps off the boat for New York City, I'm like, yes, I want to follow this man for hours. Hours.
Now, I don't want to be rude about his performance. I think Eddie Redmayne can act. I don't know if he's doing the right performance for this character.
I'll say it right now, his mouth annoyed me the entire thing. He's got this little lisp, and he talks a bit, and he's got like a little hand. I dislike that.
That's how you talk.
That's so cruel. I am so
But
cruel.
you got your little hands and you do that.
Oh, I'm going to write a little text.
You're like a little otter when the otter's like doing its thing. Look at you go.
I've got a little mouth.
I will say though, of his performance, when he actually actually has to do the beast things, I think he really sells them.
It's fantastic.
Which is like when he does his like those things, he's like got to be like oinking and like things, but really like enthusiastically.
Yeah.
I think he sells that stuff.
Oh, 100%, especially where it's like just a green room.
Absolutely.
All right, you're a pig. You're a dirty pig. Oink. Oh, and now you're a bumblebee. Bumble, you slut.
It's like, this is not what I thought the wizarding world would be like.
Daniel Radcliffe comes with it. Yes, that is exactly
I was told to be a bee my entire time. You've then also got Tina.
Yeah.
Tina is one of the least interesting, flattest characters to ever bestow pretty much any blockbuster, in my opinion.
100%. And again, like, jumping on the JK role, you remember how everyone like realized everyone's names in these films? Her name's Goldstein and works like it just feels a bit weird.
Yeah, it does. She's just like a bland character. It's a weird trajectory in this movie. Her and Newt spend 24 hours together. She hates him for most of it. They almost get killed and completely obliterated or whatever. Obligated. And then and at the end she's crying, being like, "I'm gonna miss you the most, Newt." And then just like, what's happened
How
here?
cool is this in that film? Because they have like they're like the first like 40 minutes, and then the two like comedy relief characters meet once and go, wow, the chemistry's
so good. The entire franchise should absolutely hinge on Queenie and Jacob.
The oaf.
Jacob's phenomenal. I think these two are such a they're what's interesting, and I think one of the interesting things about the movie is what if a Muggle joins the journey?
Yeah.
Because I also
no Madge.
I know Madge. But it's like it makes sense in terms of they're doing that Grindelwald thing in the background.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, a Muggle's POV would be interesting considering that's the issue Grindelwald wants to handle.
Yeah.
Right? So I get why he's there. They're not used much in the movie.
No.
Colin Farrell's in it. And he's like, you thought you had me, but it's not.
It's not me.
It's Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He was paid ludicrous amounts of money to do his cameo in this one.
Really?
Yeah. He's then in the sequel paid $20 million for that one. And then for the third one, he was paid $16 million to not star in it. So over the course of the trilogy so far, I would presume maybe like $45 million has gone to just having Johnny Depp.
In the second one.
Why? What? It's like this is a franchise you need a name to sell.
And then they did need a name to sell the third one. But yeah, I get it. I mean,
but it's like he's not at his prime anymore. Like everyone's like, oh, he doesn't even try at Jack Sparrow. So why is he a good get for like the villain? Especially when he's revealed and he's like pasty, deformed, blonde,
he's
weird
got like
haircut.
bleach. He's got like frosted tips.
It's just like as like an obtuse leader, I'm just like, I wouldn't follow you.
You haven't got that cult status. I need a little bit of edge to my warlords.
Why are you in the lead? How would you like get a group riled up to follow you? It's ridiculous. Be like, oh god, not him. They're like, hey,
bring back Colin. I respected him.
It's like, hey, I've got some ideas, and you're like, oh, why?
Hey, man,
Don't bring them up.
I got some ideas. He has exact same acts exactly as Newt.
Yeah, they're all like otters.
Hey guys,
like an otter.
Yeah, you're a slippery little otter. You goddamn. Oh,
I think also my memory was always like this movie really lacks magic and whimsy. And actually,
that is such an easy, like, if you're writing like a critic, this film has no magic.
However, when rewatching it, I was like, oh, there is some good stuff in it. I do like everything to do with his little briefcase. Yeah. Is fun. And I do like when they go into the briefcase. Yeah. And so I think there's some good magic in here. Now, having said my compliments about the first film, let's dive into Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, which currently has a 6.5 on IMDb, a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 2.7 on Letterboxd.
I remember going to see Fantastic Beasts. I'm like, I'm keen. I was like, I'm mixed. Maybe the second one's good. And then I remember like kind of missing it and everyone going, don't. Carl, what happened? What's the plot? Give me the gist.
Tell you the plot. I don't fucking know. Who knows what this movie's about? Fantastic Beasts 2 is just terrible. I hate this movie. And I, again, rewatched it, and when I finished the first one, I went, maybe I'll like the second one now too. No. Oh, this is terrible. And this is definitely glaringly where it's like, there are screenplay issues with that first Fantastic Beast. My God. The second one's just like, oh,
Double
J.K.
down.
Rowling's never seen a film. Like, there's no acts, there's no structure. 20 minutes before the end of the movie, they're like, look, Nicholas Flamel is here. How's he going to play into it? He comes in at the end when they're all going to die, and he's like, I'll fix it. And I'm like, introduced 20 minutes ago? What are you doing? What are you doing?
But he was in Harry Potter.
Oh, God.
I freaking love Harry Potter.
It's also one of those movies where you're like, what were the crimes? Like, it's just like, you're like, I don't get what the subtitle even means now I've seen
What
the
is
film.
the plot? Okay, so they kind of save the day. They evaporate the whole... Men in Black, like, 2... everyone.
So
So now we're in the New York again?
Get ready, because you're like, oh, you've introduced all your characters. Now we're going to hit the ground running. She's like, let's introduce more. And you're like, oh, no.
Who do we get?
It's just, one, this movie's weird because it basically has to retcon the entire ending of the last movie.
Hilarious.
So it's just like, Jacob remembered Queenie.
Yeah.
The Grindelwald had to escape prison to make sure, like, it's just like things where you're like,
Why don't they plan things
Oh,
like...
I don't know.
Why
I don't
don't
know.
Just a rough outline. Just
it's
like,
not hard.
No.
Jot it down on a napkin.
JK lost the napkin.
Shit.
Oh, fuck.
5 movies were depending on this.
I think I can fudge the second. I'll remember. It'll come back to me by the fourth.
It'll definitely come back to me. Ooh.
Dumbledore's gay. I remember that. God.
Also, I think the other charm this series could have had is getting to see all other cultures' versions of like Hogwarts and the Wizarding World. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
So this one's like set like half in Paris, half somewhere else, and then Grindelwald's like putting together like an army, but he needs Credence, played by Ezra Miller, who's got that dark thing in
He's
him.
got the...
Obelisk or something like that? Obscura.
Obscurus.
He's got an Obscura
Which
in
is
him.
pretty much just like, you're evil.
Yeah.
Kills you, corrupts you.
And so Grindelwald's like, I need him to kill Dumbledore because Dumbledore and I have a love pact.
Yeah.
Which means we can't...
If we're both single at 40, we get married together. And I'll be
we
honest,
adopt a child and start a show. 2.5 men. 2.5 wizards.
I'll get a 37 and I'm not sure I'm ready to commit to that again.
So the Ministry obviously wants like Dumbledore to do to help. He's like, I can't.
So Dumbledore's introduced in this one.
Yeah,
right?
he's introduced in this one. He's played by Jude Law. I think Jude Law is really good casting. He doesn't really get a lot to do in this one either. This is one of those movies where there's so many characters, nobody gets anything of merit to do.
Gotcha.
And I think it also just plays into more of like, Tina's back, Newt's back. And then when Jacob and Queenie are on screen, you're like, yay! Look at them go. They're fun.
I always thought Newt was like, let's get you guys to establish what it's like. This is like, because Newt's sort of like news. I thought it was like the point of view for just the first one, and then they'd jump into the new stuff.
Yeah.
But Newt's still here.
Yeah, and I mean, they use him... I think so far these two movies, they don't do much on the Fantastic Beasts. The second one has one scene where it's like Newt's able to analyze a crime scene using the beasts.
Yeah.
And that's like...
He's got like a beast, it's like a camera. Just like it shits out a picture.
There's semen everywhere. The killer left behind
Sorry,
their
that was my
semen.
bare semen beast.
Like, I mean, but that's the stuff where you're like, okay, well, that's like, I get his point of view is like this whole thing where he looks at like, he sees like these beasts and is like, they have a lot more to offer to like...
They're just being little freaks.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think it's meant to be almost like a little bit of like a... It's like how these villains are looking down on muggles and stuff like that. So I kind of get what they're trying to do.
So JK didn't write this.
So JK does not, like, all of this film is tell, don't show, and so it's long monologues talking about things where you're like, this isn't a book.
It could have been a tweet, JK.
You can't do this.
Newt's just like, I've got some thoughts on sports. And who should be playing them. There's 2 separate teams. Let's keep it separate.
Oh, God. It's also just, like, a boring film.
Yeah.
It's bad. I also do not believe Johnny Depp as, like, Grindelwald. He's, like... There's a part...
How's he playing it?
Just kind of like him. Like, I don't know. I
Like,
think
what,
he's
like, kind of like a bit like, whoa. You know.
Yeah. Like that. Like he's doing a bit of a, it's like he's doing a Jack Sparrow at 50% or something.
Yeah.
It's
I like the director just has a scale. Like, where do you want me?
You drifted into 54. He's like, oh, I'll bring it down. Bring it down. You're too low. You're at 39.
Oh my
bring
God.
it up. Bring it up.
Whoa, let's leave Las Vegas, Terry West.
What are you doing? So yeah, I don't think he's like very good. It gets to the end where like he's doing a big rally.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't believe these people would follow you.
Yeah.
And then he sort of like kills a handful of like people that are trying to leave. I don't know. It's an incredibly disinteresting film.
So he's collected a bunch of people. Some of them are going away. He's killing them, and then he's to his followers.
He's got his followers. The Queenie goes to his side.
Yeah.
So you're like, ooh, that's interesting because like I like Queenie.
Yeah.
And she's going over because his whole idea is that it's like wizards shouldn't be living in secret from muggles.
Yeah.
We are the superior people. We should be living with them.
Yeah.
And she's like, basically she wants to marry Jacob, and it's like, no, wizards shouldn't marry muggles. Yeah. So she's like, really, we're interested in what Grindelwald wants to fight for. And so you're like, interesting, cool. It's funny that they don't show anything of Tina, considering her sister's just gone to the dark side. And it's just like, no, it's all Jacob. Who gives a shit about Tina?
Yeah. Is Tina in the third one?
So,
are we finished with the second? Any more notes?
Oh, look, my other note is: should these movies be called Fantastic Beasts and something?
They really, I don't know why
they're getting smaller and smaller with the
Fantastic.
I think it should be like The Crimes of Grindelwald and Where to Find Them.
Yeah.
The Secrets of Dumbledore and Where to Find Them. I think they used the wrong half of the title.
I think it should be a library-based sort of system. I want to see where these films would be in a library. So you go to the adult section. Where would you find them? Over there. That's a better fit. Yeah.
There's also like themes in that first movie that JK probably shouldn't be handling, like Ezra Miller's getting so physically beaten by people that darkness is growing inside him, and I'm like, I think child domestic abuse is maybe not within your realm.
It's magic.
It's magic.
It's a magic beating.
I know. It's like she was like, oh, was I too magical when I was like, oh, Harry Potter has to live in a small room. Well, how about they beat the child now? You're like,
they beat the darkness into him. How about that for a fucking character?
So let's recall. So basically, the first movie came out, it was doing fine.
Yep.
The second one came out, it gets awful reviews. Fans don't like it. It makes 200 million less than the first one.
Yeah.
So the studio's like, cool, you don't get to write these anymore.
JK's like, shh, I just have a thought. I'm going to tweet it in detail. It's like, cool, what's that, JK? It's like, it's a little bit of bigotry.
So they've got a bit of an issue because you got Johnny Depp, he's going through his his court case with Amber Heard.
Yeah.
JK Rowling saying some not good things ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, please stop. You're
Ezra
hurting
Miller's...
Harry Potter. Ezra Miller's having a full-on physical breakdown, ruining his... Basically, nothing's lining up.
No. Jude Law's like, I'm keen for 3 more of these.
Oh my god. Jude Law's so good in these. Yeah. So you get Johnny Depp, he gets recast as with Mads Mikkelsen. What a step up.
Do they explain that away?
No. And...
Because I thought, because Colin Farrell turned into Johnny Depp, couldn't they be like, you know what, I shape shit. I'm like, Doctor
Well, I was
Who,
like, are
but
they
bad.
going to do a thing where it's like a new guy plays Grindelwald every film? No, I think they just do a good enough job where it's just like he's in hiding or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't like. I think the correct thing to do was not acknowledge it. They're just like, he's Grindelwald now, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was like, Johnny Depp was so good.
How did they? I can't immerse myself in this magical wizardly world.
Okay, so Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore currently has a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 6.7 on IMDb, and a 3.5 on Letterboxd. I don't know where this is going to land because it is only out in a handful of markets.
Yeah.
So those numbers will probably change.
Yeah.
I am very much of the mind it's absolutely double the quality of the second film.
That's not a great feat, but it's something.
Oh god, look, I gotta tell you, that second one has so many fucking issues and when they brought on the screenwriter of the original Harry Potter films, ooh, you can tell immediately, baby. There's somebody going, hey, let's show, not tell. Like, I think that JK's written like kind of a screenplay and they've given it to him and he's like, oh, I had to read all of those books and cut them into a 2-hour film. I can do this with one of these shit screenplays. Yeah. So I think he does a good job at like using the beasts as like a central point as to what's going on. Mads gets a lot more to do.
Nice.
Also, JK's always just been like, Dumbledore's gay, and then anytime she's actually had to like
Point it
out, she's like, "Ooh, what is he?" I'm like, "Cool. Why you keep telling us?"
I was pretty vague here. It says he wears a robe. That's pretty fucking gay. I mean, come on, guys. I'm on your side. Just not that side.
So I really appreciated that this movie opens. Jude Law's flat out just like, "I love you." So like Grindelwald, and you're like, cool, we've established this like romance relationship. I think it's like an interesting point that two of your main characters used to be lovers.
Yeah.
Like gay lovers. I think that's great representation in a major motion picture. I think it adds a lot to sort of the conflict at hand.
Yeah.
They're like, Tina's not coming back, and you're like, love it.
But is that because she stood up against JK?
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of some background things. I don't think she liked JK's comments, much like I don't think anyone liked them.
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Funny because
I'm big on a big retweet and a like.
It is funny that like Eddie Redmayne's like was nominated for an Oscar for playing like one of the first trans women in The Danish Girl.
Yeah.
And she's like, him.
I like him.
I like him. I don't like what he's doing in that film, but I like
nailing
him.
it.
So I think it's smart that this movie goes, we're going to remove a handful of characters. We're going to use a handful that we've kept. There's just like a lot of like this screenwriter being like, hey, JK, when you're like making points of themes, good to have like different versions of themes.
Okay, that's cool, but I've drawn another creature.
Yeah.
And I want the first 20 minutes to be about this creature. His name's Bliff. And
Bliff
he is
Blom
not
Booby.
a fan of cake. Okay, so that's pretty wacky.
It's also like one of those things where I'm one of those people that was just like, I'm not going to fall in love with your cute little creatures you keep trying to push down. That little platypus one that's stealing gold, or that little tree ant one that like picks locks.
That's Groot.
It is a bit Grooty. I'm not going to fall in love with them. I gotta tell you, I want these fucking creatures. They want me. I'm like, hey, look at it. He tucks the little gold into his pouch. It's adorable.
You bought the plushies, you moron.
Oh god, I'd buy these plushies in a heartbeat. I would sleep on a pillow of one of these creatures, absolutely, in a heartbeat.
My Daniel Radcliffe pillow could need like an update. It's that good that it'd be fun. Okay, well, what's Newt's third way through the film, third way through the series, sorry.
Yeah.
Where's Newt? What's his arc?
So, I think this movie really, like, the third one does some good stuff, which is, like, at the beginning of the movie, the suitcase is taken away from him. And I'm like, cool. So now he's, like... It's, like, essentially when you do that in a superhero movie, and it's like, he now has no powers. That's essentially what it is. And I think the other clever thing is, I always think the issues with these films so far is... You know in Harry Potter where you're, like, everybody has, like, a piece of magic they're good at?
Yep.
These movies are like, oh, everybody's just equal because they're adults. And you're like, cool, so there's nothing kind of special to the nuances of like, that one's good at memory charms and you're good at that. And it's like, because then also when they were all kids in Harry Potter, they're all at various levels of learning magic.
Yeah.
So I think what's cool is in this one, he uses very little magic to almost emphasize what he's good at is utilizing the beasts.
Yes.
So I think that's way smarter. And I think his whole thing is he just has to learn it's almost like he has to learn a trust in people.
Yeah.
So his whole thing is he just has to learn to trust Dumbledore.
Because he's a little freak and loves his little creatures. But
Loves his little creatures. So yeah.
So wait. Okay. Cool. That's good. God, they're good for them getting him back on track. Because
and again, I don't know, but I'm going to credit the screenwriter coming back because it's just there's a part where Jacob's like, I don't know. He's like got his little bakery going and he's like, I don't know if I want to join this fight for the Wizarding World. Yeah. I've never really enjoyed being it. And they're like, I don't know. Isn't there somebody like you care about? And it's like he looks over and he's got like a wedding cake he's made, but like the groom's like fallen down in it. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And you're like, cool. I know what he's thinking without anyone telling me because you showed it. You showed it.
JK's like, cool. He shows the cake. And then he looks down the camera and goes, it's my wife. I need to save her, and that's why I'm signing up for war. Also, my thoughts on trans people.
Yeah, look, so I think this third one's definitely put its best foot forward.
Yeah.
I think it's of the quality, even maybe slightly better than that first one.
Yep.
However, I think that second one's done so much damage, and unfortunately, one of the smart things this screenwriter's gone is like, see some of these plots you got going on. What's the fucking point? Let's finish them off throughout the movie. So like Ezra Miller's whole thing kind of gets like pretty much concluded.
Nice.
Also, one of the things that was shitty in that Crimes of Grindelwald was like them just being like, oh yeah, you're a Dumbledore to Ezra Miller at the end of the movie. They're like, you're Dumbledore's brother.
Oh.
And it ends on that cliffhanger.
Whoa, the guy who's like the...
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, right?
Whoa, hang on. Jude Law's like 38. Ezra Miller's a boy.
Yeah, right? And so, look, and I don't know if this was planned or maybe it was like... I don't think fans liked that sort of twist.
Yeah.
So I thought it was clever as they made it Dumbledore's brother's son.
Yes.
Way smarter, and basically... He's like Ezra Miller's
because that shows one, that's why they're a bit bitter.
Yeah.
And two, it's not fucking Dumbledore's brother.
Yeah.
In the Harry Potter, just like, come from my secret garage.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's just like, and so that's just like done now. Fantastic.
Yeah. A decent way to find him.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
They also like wrap up Queenie and Jacob's whole thing.
Yeah.
So like throughout the movie, she's like, basically anytime they almost interact, she's like, it completely has to like ignore him and pretend he doesn't exist, otherwise he will get killed.
Yeah.
So it's just like things like that. They end up getting sort of married and everything at the end. So there's sort of like a tick done on them that you don't have to bring them back for the next one if you don't want to. I think the entire third film's repositioned everyone so that you can now really hit the ground running in the fourth one and get into what you want to do.
Hilarious. They were like, we're going to do a trilogy. No, 5. And then they've gone, fuck, we're doing a trilogy. Don't forget about the first 2. I mean, some bits of the first one, but...
Yeah, like it was weird that second one was like, let's introduce and undo lots of things from the first one. And you're like, cool, then what was the fucking point of the first one?
What is the point of this? Like, what's it sort of leading up to?
It's leading up to the great wizard, like the Dumbledore versus Grindelwald was like a big thing.
Yeah.
Before everything that happened with like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So it's just like a defining moment, and it happens sort of during the Muggles' big world war as well. So that's sort of like an interesting playing field. So yeah.
Is Grindelwald a Nazi? Is it 1945?
Yeah, like I guess like that's probably what they're going for. I think I feel like if JK's like, oh, it's like a Hitler parable, and this writer's like,
if JK starts like, I've got themes, I want them to be Hitler, it's like, JK, I'm sorry, you're not touching that barrel. You're not going to that well. We are not doing that shit.
Yeah, and I think this screenwriter really emphasizes what's interesting about Grindelwald is he wants to coincide with Muggles rather than eradicate them.
Yeah.
Just to like make it a bit more different.
Yeah.
It's also like the entire of the second one's just like Grindelwald being like, grr, angry, and I'm keen to just fucking cause
Soon
me.
I'm gonna be angry. Soon I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna wait 2 films. I'm gonna get him.
Where there's like this is like about overthrowing like political parties within the wizarding world, and like Grindelwald, there's like a part where he's just like in a car with all of his followers like screaming with excitement, and he's like, wind down the window just a smidge, just so he can like revel in the sound of people celebrating him. And again, it's just like one of those moments where you're like, yeah, JK didn't write that moment.
Yeah. She would have had. Can you hold up a sign saying you're happy with being evil? Can you do that? Feels very Star Wars-esque, doesn't it? Sort of, they made the first Star Wars, everyone liked those, and then the prequels come out, and everyone's like, ah.
Like, I think it depends if the second one's done so much damage that people are going to be really dismissive of this one, which I wouldn't be surprised by.
From what you're saying, it seems like it's an okay film, and the fact that it still has like a 6.7 for a Harry Potter, like... Yeah, not great. I don't think that's...
Yeah, like I think...
And they're pushing the advertise. I've not been advertised as much for a film.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big issues is also like, I think the UK was such a big supporter of Harry Potter, but because you've taken it out of the UK and it's all around the world now, really leaning on American actors and American characters.
I remember not liking that, the New York... I don't think it's like... I don't think it's awful, but it's very British. Like, it should stay in Britain.
Well, it's I would say what's really clever is they kind of restyle the filming of New York in this one to feel a bit more magical. Yeah. Just in the way it looks and feels. Like, I was saying, genuinely, I wouldn't think the guy that directed the Crimes of Grindelwald would have directed the third one. The director
came back.
Yeah, it's always fucking David Yates. I think the other issue with this franchise is it needs some a fresh director.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just thought that this director really upped his game, and I assume it's just like he's better working with a good script than he is just filming Harry Potter. So, yeah, I thought he was better, but I'm like, just bring back Alfonso Cuarón.
Get him.
I want him back. Bring him back.
That'd be so rogue if they got him.
Oh my god, imagine that. He'd be like, cool, everything's practical again. You're like, yes!
We got Johnny Depp back, but he's all practical, baby. He's all puppets.
Oscar, who do you think Fantastic Beasts, the trilogy so far,
Soon to be
is
a
for?
fifthology.
Yeah, like, I hope this is... I don't think that this is... I think that these movies do enough in terms of repopularizing Harry Potter into conversation. Maybe it drives people to rewatch the movies, or like I think it does enough for the franchise to continue to be staying relevant. That I think they'll continue making them. I also think like if this movie's just okay and then it does really well on streaming services and airplanes and things like that, I think it could bounce back.
You got to call it the airplane market. That's where the real money is.
Oh, it's weird.
Here's the thing: Pulp Fiction was dead in the water. Jump on a Boeing 737.
People love an airplane.
Oh, yeah.
I do have like some of my mates like dads only consume films through airplanes because that's like that's just how that's their only free time. There's no connection to the internet.
Yeah.
That's all there is. So they're just like up on date with all movies that have like come out a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So, you bring up House of Gucci, they've all seen it. Like
I was at someone's dad was like, "Oh my god, have you seen Alita Battle Angel?" And I'm like, no, I haven't. It's 2 years ago. It's fantastic. Watched it. It's a great plane film though.
There's seriously the art of a good plane. Here's the thing. I will cry any movie on an airplane.
Oh yeah.
We're at a weird altitude. There's weird air.
I'm eating a tray of food. I don't know what it is.
Oh my god. I'm constrained to a chair. I'm weird about peeing in public places, so I do not pee or poo on a full flight. It does hurt me a lot. So yes, I will cry in anything. You know that awful movie Stuba with like Kumail Nanjiani?
Yeah.
Yep, tears.
Oh.
Just no laughs. Just tears because I was moved.
Oh, imagine. Could you imagine? You walk, they're doing a test screening, and you walk out bawling your eyes out. You're like, it's a comedy. It's like, God, but you got the emotion right. You got the pathos. Oh, damn. Didn't laugh once. Stuba. I started that for 10 minutes.
Oh, it's awful. It's a bad film. But it's a lot to feel. It's a lot to go through.
A lot of love in the Stuba.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of love. I love having a good cry on an airplane. I got a lot of my anxieties out, everything like that.
It's also such a weird thing coming back out of it. Oh, yeah. Not me.
I love it. People are like, oh, you should get a therapist. And I'm like, why? When there's airplanes?
Yeah, I've got a lot of frequent flyer miles. I'm going to Things are cheaper than therapy? No.
Yeah, Oscar, who do you think Fantastic Beasts franchise thus far is for?
Oh, I mean, lukewarm as being a Harry Potter fan. I'm not seeking these out.
Yeah.
I think diehards are, but like, I don't think even some diehards are like rushing to a midnight screening of this. They'll watch it, and they're gonna make money, and they're gonna make 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna peak though. I don't know if it's gonna be like in 2 films they can really bring it back.
Well, like I think they've done a good enough job with this third one that if this was to really bomb, you could end it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be getting an answer to the Grindelwald stuff, but it definitely ends on a point of
hilarious. And then making 5 films and then not getting to the only thing like
people want to see.
Yeah.
And I'll say though, I've been seeing bad reviews from people that are like very in tune to the film industry, and ones that are like, my job's just to review films. Like I saw one, the Sydney Morning Herald was gave it 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
and they were just like, pretty good fucking blockbuster. So like I'd say that there's like, for some people, I'm sure external aspects are playing into what they want to think and feel. I think if you take the movie face value, I think it's a good time at the movies.
I mean, here's the thing. Do I have to watch the second one? Can I jump into this third one?
Yeah, I think it does a good enough job at scooting over the second one for sure.
Good for them.
Yeah. Like I said, somebody that's actually a screenwriter makes all the fucking difference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I get that some people maybe aren't enjoying this, but I think they're riding the ship.
Yeah, here's the thing. Who would watch this? I think there's going to be a real interesting one in like 7 years' time when it's all said and done and you can kind of see the whole big picture. Because then it's like a bit of a lesson seeing what you need to do for a fun. I think a lot of industries, and I don't get how like movie, how producers and writers are going into these massive, big scale things and not having like a plan.
Yeah.
So
like
I'm very keen to see the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do. It could just end up being like another Hobbit situation. I think a lot of it comes down to how it ends.
Yeah.
If this just has a good ending, like I think having a good ending means the world to pop culture and relevancy.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Game of Thrones not having a good ending, I think completely cut that out of the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Like I think you see it all the time. I think if somehow they had like an ending that was satisfying and action packed.
Yeah.
I feel like people would be like, "Oh yeah,
it's such a Hobbit." Actually, completely you nail it. It's very Hobbity, isn't it?
yeah." Because I think one of the big, like,
a similar like fan like base. Like people loved the first 3 in Harry Potter and the books and stuff.
Yeah.
And then those kind of we got more, but
like I don't mind that first Hobbit.
Yeah.
I think they're all diminished. Like they diminish returns as they go along.
Yeah.
And one of the things is I think easily that third one's the worst.
Yeah.
It's a really bad film, in my opinion. That it's like trying to revisit Hobbit movies is like, what's the point in watching if the end result's not good?
You know what the most roguish thing is? If you like find someone that hasn't watched Lord of the Rings and you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings, some people are like, listen, we're gonna watch The Hobbit first and then go. Which insane! If you're a person that does that, you're insane.
Oh.
Why would you make someone watch 10 hours of a bad franchise
know.
and then be like, don't worry, there's another 10 to go. It's better, I promise.
I do think it really would have actually worked with the original plan of them doing 2 films.
Yeah.
Like I think there's
a cut online that
Yeah.
I really want to watch. It's like just kind of connect to like a long 3-hour movie.
Yeah. And I think it just sticks to the book, like
Yeah.
with the stuff that's in the book. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I guess this is for fans of The Hobbit.
Yeah, big fans of The Hobbit. If you love The Hobbit, this is for you.
Oscar, what are we reviewing next week?
Next week, we're going back to the Razzies. We mentioned it, we thought about it, went, you know what? What was that film? It's Twist. It didn't win, but it won our hearts. Twist is an
Really rooting for Twist to win that Razzie. Shame it didn't. What a bummer.
It was the underdog and it just didn't perform. It's a twist on Oliver Twist called Twist.
Yes, keen for Oliver Twist. Love me some Rita Ora.
Oh, love it, Rita Ora. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.